Africans stand up. Your Saturday just got more exciting as Artiste Novo, aka your musical plug, creator of the energy, present to you Cha Music Review Podcast. A music review podcast that critic, review, analyze, and rate new songs from top African artists on a weekly basis. Whether you're from Ghana,
Nigeria,
South Africa,
Kenya,
Tanzania,
Benin,
Lesotho, Botswana, Rwanda, or even in the diaspora, Cha Music Review Podcast is your guide for the newest African sounds. Cha Music Review Podcast by Artiste Novo, amplifying the African sound by bringing the best of African music to your ears.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and members of the Cha Nation, it is me, Artiste Novo, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force, and I'm back as if I never left with another episode of the Cha album review series on the Cha Music Review Podcast. And I'm not going to be here alone. I have a friend of mine in the compound, and without wasting much of your time, let me allow my friend for today to introduce himself.
It's amazing to be here. I'm Mannie, host of On Record with Mannie Music Podcast. I'm a podcaster, obviously. I'm a music enthusiast, basically.
All right. Thank you very much for being on the podcast today, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to be here, to be honest.
Today we'll be talking about Chike's album, which is titled Brother's Keeper. But before we go into the album and all of that, let me quickly give a quick information about the album. So, like I said, the name of the album is titled Brother's Keeper. The album was released on the 25th of August, 2022. The album features Flavour, Ycee, and Azana. And the producers that worked on the album include T.Y. Mix, Killertunes, Echo the Guru, Louddaaa, Sagzy, Afroshii. You have Louddaaa, you have Masterkraft, and you have DeeYasso. Those are the producers that worked on the album. And the album contained 16 tracks. Now, Mannie, let me ask you this. When you listened to the album for the first time, what was your first impression on the first time listening to the album?
The first time I listened to the album, what I did especially was that I'm trying to, there's something new I'm doing. I'm trying to learn how not to judge a new album by the person's previous very good album. So at first I was like, okay, I'm listening to this with an open mind. So when I first listened to it, I was like, okay, this is classic Chike. The first 4 songs hit me straight up. Usually albums grow on me, but this time around it was the first 4 songs, it hits me straight up. I was like, yes, this is it.
Right, the first 4 songs hits you straight up, and it seems like you took that, right out of my mouth, because I'm not going to lie to you. It was the first 4 songs that hooked me on the album. Though, also, to be honest, on my first listening, I was not able to listen to the album to the end. I think I listened to it till about or to the 10th track or to the 9th track, and I'm not gonna lie, it was sounding a bit kind of too much. I'm like, oh wait, this is still never end. It's still never end. But then, like I said, on that first listening, I did not finish listening to it. But the first 4 track of the album, got me hooked, and I kept listening until probably I got tired. Then when I listened to the album for the second time, I was able to listen to it all through. And, I kind of noticed 2 things on the album, and I'm going to ask if you also notice it. So it seems like, should I say the first 7 or 8 songs or thereabouts on the album were songs that were not really, I'm not going to say they were not really Chike style, but they were more of, a danceable or more of a commercial kind of track. Then everything changed when it got to Zamo, and, it started giving us all this slow vibe that we know Chike to be and all of that. And that was when I really appreciated the album. I'm like, okay, this guy should have just done this album in 2 parts. Part 1 where we have the whole groovy sound and the whole danceable sound, and part 2 when we have the whole slow dance, slow song and all of that. But again, like I said, after listening to the album for the second time and for the third time, I got hooked, on the album. Now, let's talk about the production of the album. I mean, I've mentioned Louddaaa, Louddaaa, Masterkraft, 2i Mix. These are extraordinary producers that have worked on the album. So what will you say? What do you feel about the production of this album?
Production of the album, in my opinion, was the sound quality, first of all, was top notch. And the moment I heard, there's a particular song I heard. I can't remember the song exactly. I think it was On the Moon. I might be wrong, but there was just something about that song that screamed Masterkraft for some reason. But I felt like I just heard Masterkraft's signature on the album generally. I heard the signature somewhere, and I was like, let me check who and who. And the first name I saw Louddaaa. I was like, okay, I mean, it's Louddaaa. Then I now saw Masterkraft. I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. I mean, only Louddaaa. I mean, no disrespect to the other producers, but Louddaaa and Masterkraft. Once you see those two names, you just know that it's a banger. You just know it's top-notch production.
I mean, yes, like you rightly said, when you have Louddaaa and you have Masterkraft on an album, you are sure that whatever track they are going to work on is definitely going to be good. Then you put in TY Mix and you put in Killertunes inside the same album. Then obviously the production of the album, is going to be top notch. Now, when we are talking about the production of the album, you mentioned Over the Moon, and which happens to be the first track, on the album. And that is going to take me to the next question I'm going to ask you. What songs will you say were the songs that stood out for you that you can say, okay, this are my personal favorite song? And what song would you say did not really make it compared to other songs on the album? It doesn't have to be that maybe the song are bad songs, but if you compare them to the quality of the songs on the album, you can say, okay, I feel this like the least, songs on the album.
Hmm. It's obviously On the Moon. On the Moon. The moment I heard On the Moon, and as you said the first 8 songs I think had mostly commercial songs that are more for, say, Nigerian audience, obviously, and international audience. And On the Moon was surprising. On the Moon is one of my favorite songs, and it's the first track. And I think I don't think it's only me that looks forward to the intro and outro of any song. I'm always looking of any album rather. I'm always looking forward to the intro and outro. So On the Moon is up there. Amapiano. I was not expecting Amapiano, to be very honest, but was I surprised? No, I was not surprised at all, because I mean Amapiano is like in Nigeria now. I won't want to call it a pandemic, or it will sound like something negative. So I'd rather call it the trend, Amapiano. So Amapiano, um spell. Spell has this kind of, I don't know if it's just me, but Spell. I think there are 2 songs that I feel like has this Kiss Daniel influence. I don't know if it's just me. Spell and Bad. Those 2 songs has this Kiss Daniel feel to it. I don't know. Well, so On the Moon, Spell, Bad, and also Tell 'em. And my least favorite songs, I think I did not really. It's just my opinion, anyways. Song Winner, Pour Me a Drink.
Oh, okay. Winner and Pour Me a Drink, your least favorite song on the album. Let me start from my own favorite, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. Like you rightly spoke about On the Moon and the Amapiano. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't see that coming. And I'm going to be honest, Chike was the last person I was expecting to jump on the Amapiano train. Because again, like you said, you don't want to call it a pandemic, but again, Amapiano is like taking over Nigeria.
Yeah.
You can't do a song that you not put Amapiano. It feels like the song is not complete. But then again, with the kind of music that Chike does, I didn't expect that it was going to go that route. So when it came in, I'm like, okay. And I heard this was, I'm like, God, like it felt different from what every other person, they've been doing. And it just, I'm not going to lie to you, that song is one of my top songs on the album. I mean, and it was a very, very, very brilliant way to kick off the album, because it sets the mood to every other thing that was coming up on the album. And again, you rightly mentioned Bad, and I'm going to agree with you when you say Bad has this kind of Kiss Daniel kind of feel. It's a song that you feel like, oh, this is a song that Kiss Daniel would definitely do, or is a song that has this Kiss Daniel influence. And I also love that song very much. I love, like I said, On the Moon, I love Bad. I love Tell 'em. Tell 'em is another song that I like on. I mean, I love that song. As a matter of fact, I think it was quite difficult for me to pick which songs were my favorite, because once I hear this, I'm like, okay, no, I think I like this. No, I think this one is better. No, I think that one is better. And that's what the husband had done for me. As for my least, favorite song on the album, I don't know. I think I might have to go for what's the name of this song now? I'm trying to remember the name of this song, which I think I'll have to go for Enough. Yes, I think I might have to go for Enough, and this other song, one of this other song, My Africa. Now, I like My Africa. I mean, it has this whole African element and African kind of vibe, but compared to every other song on the album, I just didn't really collect it. I mean, shout out to Anaza. Anaza came through on the song. She did her thing, but again, like I said, compared to every other song on the album, it was not just the kind of song I could vibe to, or not the kind of song I would want to play twice or three times compared to every other song on the album. Also, another song that I like, yes, before I forget that, is You Deserve, which also features on Ycee. I mean, I love how Ycee came through on that song. It's been a long time, I've heard Ycee sound like that, and Ycee really came through for me on that particular song. So yes, those are my top favorite song, and also, my least favorite song on the album. Now let's try to wrap up this whole thing, and let me ask you these two questions to wrap it up. The first question is, so if you are going to rate the album over 10, what rating are you going to give it, and why? That's number one. Then number two is, what will you say is the replay value of this album? Is it an album whereby, okay, after a month you get tired of it, or is an album you can still listen to in the next 1, 2, 3 years and you say, you know what, this is a solid album, no matter the century, no matter the time, it's always a good album?
So my rating might be influenced by the standard he has already set
Okay.
for Bow of the Bullets and then Dance of the Bullets. So I'll rate the album. I think I'll rate it 7/10. I'm very
Okay.
let me not say probably. I'm very sure Bow of the Bullets and Dance of the Bullets have influenced my decision, but I'll rate it 7/10. And for replay value, I don't think it has that much replay value, if I'm being very honest. Um Again, I'll go back to Bow of the Bullets. If we are holding it by that standard, Bow of the Bullets, I listened to that song. I don't know. There's just something about 10/10 debut albums that just has this replay value. I can listen even till now. I can still listen to that song like in a row, like full thing from start to finish. But I don't think, because I feel like this particular album, it kind of slowed down, not tempo now, not music theory like tempo. It kind of slowed down in the middle, somewhere around there. Then it picked up towards the end. So I feel like that small part between the beginning and the end kind of makes it a little bit tiring. But it's a good album all around, but I don't think it has that much replay value. I don't think it does.
Okay. Like you rightly said, you don't think it has, that much replay value. And you mentioned something about the album slowing down in the middle, and which was something I also said. I felt like the first 8 tracks of the album were, again, commercially driven. Chike wanted you to drive, he wanted you to, vibe to the album, wanted you to connect, and he did a brilliant job, making us connect. Like you rightly said, the first 4 songs of the album, got you hooked and all like that. But then when it got to Zamo and the songs after that, then we now started to hear the natural Chike of Bow of the Bullets, which, but I
Yes.
feel like that was where the problem was, because again, I was already listening to the old, vibing, and then all of a sudden, that's why I said it would have made sense if the album was in a kind of, a 2 parts. So you know that this is part A and this is part B. So we can know that, okay, yes, we are going to be hearing, 2 kind of different sounds, or 2 kind of, different vibe, or 2 kind of different melody. But looking at all of that and putting all of that together, I would still say the album is a good album in the sense that even the slow songs that still took us back to the Chike of, Bull of the Bullets were still good songs. They were still brilliant songs that I said, okay, fine. So let's even assume Chike was trying to please us, in the first 8 songs. At least he has gone back to his original style and he has kept it to 100 and he kept it real. So I would say it's still, a good album. In terms of replay value, will I still go back to listen to this album after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, or 5 months? Well, definitely I would go back to listening to it. Maybe when I now go back, I might not listening to the old album entirely. Like you rightly said, as it happened with Bull of the Bullets. I mean, that's a classic album anytime, any day. But this, I might go back and listen to about 10 or let's say 11 songs thereabout, and still stick with them to like next year or next 2 years or to whenever I feel like I'm tired and stuff like that. But in terms of rating, my rating is going to be a 7.5. And the 0.5 there is because and I'm not going to lie to you, I love the solid production that was done on this album. Every single producer that worked on this album, they really came through, and that for me, I mean, let's even remove the fact that it's Chike and Chike is going to become correct. And I mean, you can't look at this album and you say there's a bad song on this album. No, there's no bad song on the album. But the production itself was just, it was just flawless and it was just dope. So for that, I'm going to give the album, a 7.5. Now, with that, we have officially come to the end of another Cha-Cha album review series. But Mannie, you rightly mentioned at the beginning that you are a podcaster. So just, tell us a bit about your podcast and, how people can connect to you on your podcast.
Okay, so my podcast is a music podcast like Cha-Cha's podcast, but a little bit different. I do many music related content. I cover music shows like Nigerian Idol. I cover just general musical topics from history and everything music related. The podcast is On Record with Mannie, and yeah, that's just basically, it's a music podcast. You can find everything music there. I sometimes bring on some amazing music talents to interview them and have a conversation.
Once again, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I really do
Thank you very much.
Appreciate. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Cha-Cha Nation, it's like come here with another episode. My name will always remain Afroshii, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. Remember, keep the energy, keep it 100, and keep it positive. Peace out.
Yeah. Cha-cha time, 2 time for the Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Rockin' with the best, the Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Alaye with Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Wati my body, Cha-Cha gang. Give me the Cha-Cha gang. Cha-Cha gang. Wati my God.